Oh, this just keeps getting better and better. So right after my last video, I apologize for not talking about it sooner. I had some other stuff during the day that I had to take care of, but I am now focusing on it now. Oh my gosh, this is getting good. I know I shouldn't be giddy about it, but you know what? I will say that this is entertaining to the extent that it's both entertaining about how pathetic Onision Greg is to try to stop people from talking about him. I mean, it is really, really pathetic. So, I guess the best way I could start this off is by saying that during the day I heard that something was going on with Greg. And in between doing my errands, doing stuff around the house, I didn't really pay attention to the internet, so when I had time to kind of sit down and see what's going on, reading through Discord, Twitter, and so on, as well as videos for YouTube, apparently Greg, it was said that Greg was trying to sue Repzion and Hansen for the usual excuse of them allegedly harassing him. Now, I don't think I need to point out once again how stupid that is, with Greg trying to sue both of them anyway, as well as how that's an empty threat at this point, considering that Greg isn't going to spend the money for a lawyer, the court, etc. Especially since, again, going through a lawsuit is a very long and tedious, not to mention very cost-worthy situation. You'd probably be bleeding more money than you would get out of the individual that you're trying to sue. And that's if you win. So, and which is why I say don't be afraid of, if Greg tries to send a "I'm going to sue you" threat. Which case, a lot of us who have, tried to take legal action against him, or at the very least he's threatened legal action, has done nothing. Hell, when it comes to him copyright people's videos and us having to appeal, giving our personal information, pretty much telling him to sue us, he still does jack shit. And we usually end up getting our stuff back online. So, bottom line, Greg can't sue them, because it would be more trouble than it's worth. So, he's changing tactics now. Now trying to get a restraining order on Repzion and Hansen for talking about him.
Now comes the part where we throw our heads back and laugh. Ready? Ready!
Here is the first petition, apparently, for the restraining order, where this is addressing for Kai, and it's basically their excuse or their response of what they've been doing is apparently the individual has been stalking us for over 10 years and has pushed us to the point where we need to take action to protect ourselves. He has been stalking us for 10 years, and I believe it is likely he would continue after a year. I understand that by submitting this petition, and pretty much that's the basic thing. So first off, they screwed up on that one, considering that it says you need to produce more than one instance as well as dates, which they don't, which I think they may end up throwing that out if this goes to court. Greg's, on the other hand, is a little bit lengthier, and it reads, Hansen showed up at my house and banged on my door while shouting through the door at my spouse and my child. The other child was at school. He brought 6 men with him who all had their own cameras pointed at my family's home. Chris Hansen has been making hateful videos about myself, my family, spouse, since September of 2020. Chris Hansen has been requested to stop stalking us. He has persisted. He flew across the country from New York to bang on our door, yell at us with 6 additional men. We fear for our safety. Chris Hansen has been stalking us for nearly half a year already. We would like to have peace for as long as possible. I understand that, and that's basically what he wrote. Now, I'm going to say this. It always boggles my mind when Greg wants to claim that people talking about him, people, doing videos on him is harassment. First of all, it's not harassment. We're not harassing you. You would have to prove that there is some form of harassment. People doing videos on you isn't harassment at any point. Now, I will say, to clarify though, when it comes to some of the stuff that we do where we are talking about your bad behavior, that's not harassment. That's us giving awareness to an individual who is terrible. You, on the other hand, have committed harassment towards other people. Shane Dawson, Eugenia Cooney, Jack and Glenn. 3 people of the many that you have targeted for harassment. That would be an example of harassment. And by the way, I want to point out something really funny. Greg can dish out all this shit towards people, but when people talk about him, he absolutely cannot stand it. He can't handle when people discuss his own antics. He curls up into a little ball and cries, which in of itself is freaking hilarious. And it shows even more with that whole situation with Chris Hansen showing up at his door and knocking on the freaking door. What did Greg do? Oh yeah, that's right. Ran away like a little coward instead of confronting the big bad Chris Hansen and called the cops. Now, I will say that I wasn't the only one that thought of this being pathetic. Chris Hansen himself had this to say about Greg's attempts at trying to silence people.
You may have heard that Onision, aka Gregory Jackson, aka James Jackson, put together a little legal complaint on his own, didn't use any lawyers, and marched it off to the local courthouse near his home in Washington State. He filed it. He apparently claims that another YouTube streamer, Repzion, and I have been mean to him. He wants a personal protection order. Good luck with that. My lawyers, including Mike Morse, have looked at it and they're unconcerned. I find it ironic, and you probably know this already if you watch my show on YouTube, Have a Seat with Chris Hansen, that I've interviewed a dozen young women who claim Onision has sexually harassed them, assaulted them in some cases, and even bullied them online and in person, stalked them. There's more to come on that and some other very disturbing things that I found out about what goes on inside his home in Washington State. I'll be reporting on that very soon on Have a Seat with Chris Hansen. If you want to take a look at what this guy is partially about, listen to the 911 tape from when I knocked on his door a few days ago. That's also on my YouTube channel, Have a Seat with Chris Hansen. Stay tuned, much more to come.
So as you guys can see, people like Mr. Repzion as well as Chris Hansen have nothing to worry about. They have done nothing wrong. And in case people want more proof about this, thanks to MJ, Novakast did a little bit of digging. Looked into Pierce County, and we found this. This is something that pretty much defines harassment when it comes to filing an anti-harassment protection petition. So as you guys can see here is the filing an anti-harassment protection petition and defining harassment. Washington State Law, RCW Chapter 10-14 defines unlawful harassment as a knowing and willful course of conduct directed at a specific at a specific person, which seriously alarms, annoys, harasses, or is detrimental to such person and serves no legitimate or lawful purpose. The course of conduct shall be such as would cause a reasonable person to suffer substantial emotional distress, or when the course of conduct would cause a reasonable parent to fear for the well-being of their child. Under Washington state law, course of conduct means a pattern of conduct composed of a series of acts over a period of time. However, short evidencing of, as I screw up this word, continuity of purpose. Course of conduct includes the sending of an electronic communication, but does not include constitutionally protected free speech. An individual may request an order of protection that may prohibit harassment, contact, and restrain the person, the respondent, from coming within a specific distance of one's residence, workplace, or school. Now, I want to point out the obvious when it comes to the situation here. Usually when it came to harassment, our own definition was if they're showing up at your house repeatedly, causing you problems, then that's harassment. But Chris Hansen and Repzion haven't done that. Periodically, and in Repzion's case, rare, does he make videos on Greg. Rarely he makes videos. So I don't see how he is actually harassing him. Chris Hansen has been following the whole investigation when it comes to the situation with Greg. Only one time, and that's the recent time, has Chris Hansen gone out of his way to fly across the states to visit Greg, to knock on his door and ask for an interview. He has done nothing of the sort. Now, at this point, my only thing is I feel like Greg is just trying to attack the videos. Attack somebody from talking about him, which is basically free speech. And if I were to reread a portion of what I just read, in quotes, course of conduct includes the sending of an electronic communication, but does not include constitutionally protected free speech.
Oh shit! Burn! Burn!
Which by definition, with Chris Hansen as well as Repzion doing videos giving their free speech about Onision and his actions, that does not count as harassment. Now, when it comes to, I know Greg or somebody will probably use this against the whole video or use this against, Chris Hansen or Repzion, but here's the thing. Them just talking about Greg is way different than what Greg has done to many other people in his videos. Attacking people for the way they look, the way they dress, what foods they eat, their ideals, the fact that they don't, subscribe to the same people as he does. Usually when it comes to Greg, and the evidence is out there if people actually look, if you aren't with him, then you're immediately against him. If you don't follow the same rhetoric that he does, which, by the way, he changes at a hat, he will disown you. So think about that. So at this point, I will say this though, if for some stupid reason this whole thing goes through, which I don't see it happening, where the court actually agrees with his restraining orders, which, with them not following the criteria, not giving any like initial like timestamps that it's happened, it's probably going to be thrown out. Hypothetically, if Chris or Repzion were to talk about, or not talk about Greg anymore, would this probably affect the FBI investigation? I'm sure some people are probably worried about that. My guess is more likely not. It may weaken it a little bit, because at this point, as we've pointed out with some of our videos, I guess Chris Hansen has a tie into the FBI to discuss evidence, as well as the narration of the victims that he's interviewed. But I don't think, if it has been ongoing, more than likely it's still going to continue without Chris Hansen or Repzion. But again, I highly doubt the court is going to agree with Greg and Kai. I mean, hell, with any other legal action that he's tried to take towards people, it hasn't ruled in his favor. So, yeah. Alright, thank you guys so much for watching. Truly appreciate it. If you guys have anything you would like to add in the conversation, leave your comments down below. Like, share, subscribe, all that fun stuff. If you guys want to follow us on social media, links are in the description. If you guys want to follow MJ, Magi, and Aden on gaming content, they usually stream on YouTube and Twitch. Sage does the nature walks, which is a ton of fun to watch. If you guys want to follow some of my gaming or my TV and movie talks, videos are usually uploaded or premiered around noon and 6 p.m. Pacific time. Want to follow our podcast, where we talk about a variety of topics as well as play some fun games. That is usually on Sunday, 6 p.m. Pacific time. Also, quick heads up, look forward to a video where I'll be responding to Greg's Discord, which somebody recorded right after he had Chris Hansen show up at his door. That should be interesting, I think. Especially when you have a couple of cackling hyenas kissing Greg's ass and acting as if he's God. This is Rob of Novakast signing off. Have a good one. Take care. Peace and be safe.